Yes, thank you. And before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are located here on the territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nation people. And first of all, those of you who are from different parts of Canada and from all over the world, I'm told 12 countries are represented here. Welcome to beautiful British Columbia. And I would say it's the best part around the world to live, raise your family, and work. And I'll tell you why in a minute. And so thank you for coming here. And coming from all over the world is really, really impressive. And it demonstrates, for the purpose that you're here, the importance of disability management in our workplaces all around the world. Many times we forget it's the employer, the businesses, and workers. They manage and run our economy together, not one without the other. So we cannot forget the people that run that economy and make those businesses work are the workers. No matter what the technology is, who created that technology, if there isn't a worker to implement that, nothing's going to work. So to the workers of the world, I salute you. And for you to make sure that when there is an injury or illness at a workplace, there is a way for them to get back to their pre-injury job. That's what you're talking about here. Wolfgang, where are you? In the back there. I just want to say thank you. Thank you leading the charge on this, because many, I would say thousands, tens of thousands, workers have benefited from your initiative, your commitment to make sure that those workers are, there's a way for them to get back to work after they injure or become ill in the workplaces. Now we, as a government, since I was appointed minister in 2017, huge accomplishments when it comes to the workers' rights, especially their health and safety, has been accomplished. And I'll touch on some of those. And I want to emphasize the point, how we are able to accomplish all these, because politics matters. I know people sometimes talk about, we don't want to talk about politics. I'm not into politics. But everything the politicians do, every decision they make, impact you. No matter what, take a look, whatever is in our life, our children in school, workplaces, what kind of health and safety regulations? What are the responsibilities of the employer to make sure the workers' health and safety is protected? What kind of WCB system in place to make sure when they are injured or become ill at workplace, to provide them support that they need to get back to the workplaces again? All those decisions are made by politicians. And I'll touch on some of those. And for you to make that work, I think is a really, really important. So talk about it in British Columbia. When we formed government, minimum wage in BC was one of the lowest in the country. And today, it's the highest of all provinces. So the lowest paid workers can have a dignity and have a good, fair wages. Because when you raise minimum wage, you're lifting all the workers in the province and their quality of life improves. That's why it's important. With the young children, protection for them, BC was the only province of the jurisdiction that allowed children as young as 12 to perform any work, regardless of how dangerous it was. Can you imagine that? And United Nations cited that government for many times on that one issue, that they are not complying with international child labor laws. Government ignored them. We came in, we made changes, knowing the first job is a very, very rewarding for young people. We all been there. We remember the first paycheck. But it shouldn't be at the cost of their safety. We have records under the WCB, millions spent on injuries that those children sustained, life-altering injuries. This is the time when we allow these young children to grow, develop into adulthood. The last thing we want is those children suffering life-altering injuries or illnesses at workplaces. We made changes, raised the general working age from 12 to 16, and defined what light duty 14 and 15 can employ, so that we are complying with the international child labor laws. And I'm so proud that we did that. BC is the only province to have 5 paid sick days available to all workers, because during COVID we learned workers were forced to make a decision when they were sick: go to work sick, take their illness with them, and infect other workers, or stay home, lose wages. That's not the position you want to put those workers, especially when they are on paycheck to paycheck. We changed that. Now 5 paid days are available to all workers. 5 paid days are also available to those who are suffering or victims of sexual or domestic violence. Imagine being in that situation, one of the most difficult times that person goes through, that worker goes through. Last thing they want to worry about is losing wages when they're making arrangements for their children's school and finding a new place to live. We made changes. Now there are 5 days available to them. So I think the workplaces also are changing radically in recent years, you've seen. But we believe that all workers, regardless of the sector that they work in, deserve minimum employment standards and protection. Standards and protections, such as fair wages, access to workers' compensation system when they're injured at workplace. Of course, as Minister of Labor, my top priority, and I made it clear the day I was appointed, I want to make sure that our workplaces are the safest in the country. And we start making changes right away. And I want to acknowledge Paul Petrie here. I turned to him when we first came and realized that the workers' compensation system need to be changes to make the needs and adapt to the current workplaces and changes that are coming. He came up with 40 recommendations, and the board was able to implement most of them, if not all of them. And I think just recently, sometimes small little things, but they're huge when it comes to impacting those workers. This is 2024, first world country, Canada. Somebody probably told you when you first started where the washroom facilities are, right? All we do, we take it for granted. We're going to go there, do our thing, and the flush, push that button there, and everything is flushed, and you have a washing hand facilities. Not so in the construction sites. Imagine porta potty, 40-degree temperature outside. Try to go inside. Especially more women are now entering the construction industry. Up until now, they were all they were porta potties. Filthy, dirty. You don't want to spend any more time than you have to. Starting October 1st, now we require all construction sites with 25 workers or more to have a flush toilets and hand washing facilities. It's a minimum that we can do to make sure that workplaces are safe, and that's what you're doing, to make sure we put those workers back to work after they're injured, and then when they go back, that there are safer workplaces in there. As I talked about Paul Petrie, we made changes to the workers' compensation system. Because I believe that, first of all, we need to make sure we have a workers' compensation system that has a strong preventative measures so that we stop injury or illnesses from happening in the first place. But in case workers are injured, they become ill because of workplace, that they are treated with respect and dignity when they are dealing with the workers' compensation system, that the support is there for them to get rehab and back to work to their pre-injury work. If not, adjust them, accommodate them at another place which is similar to that job that they were performing before. So I think I'm proud those changes are made. I just tell you, I said government matters, politics matters. Those changes were made. We had many of those protections in before. Government came in, decided to make those changes at the expense of those injured workers. took many of their benefits away. One example in Bill 41 that we brought in, if you're injured and you sustain a lifelong injury or illness, you're awarded a pension, disability pension. What the previous government did was they indexed it to CPI -1. It used to be full CPI. Now, I'm just going to give you an example how devastating that one small change, it looks small, but how devastating it is to that injured worker. A worker who was awarded disability pension when they made those changes in 2003, say $3,000, if there was a full CPI, that pension would be at $4,700. But because it was a CPI -1, they were receiving $3,900. So $800 every month this worker is falling behind and behind and behind. What happened to that great compromise? Paul, you know, others know in this room, compromise in 1917. Workers gave up their right to sue employer when they become injured at workplace. But in return, employer undertook that they will look after those workers through WCB system, their health and safety, rehab, and get them ready to back to work. So workers were not benefiting from their part of the contract. The employer was. We fixed that. But this is how far the governments can go. That one change to give full CPI, which we did, cost WCB system $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. And there was billions of dollars taken out of the system on the backs of the injured workers. And there are many other examples. We couldn't fix it because you try to fix it all at once. You're talking about increased premiums and you know, all the noises from the employer that you're making it uncompetitive for us. And I understand that. You need to make slow changes. We're doing it. But just show how governments of different philosophy can impact workers. Mental health is a huge issue right now. When I started working, mental health wasn't even talked about. And many years ago, it wasn't talked about. Now more and more education and awareness, more and more mental health claims are being filed at the WCB, especially the first responders, because whose part of their job is face trauma every day as part of their job. And last thing you want is those workers having to reprove that it is work-related when they're filing a claim at the WCB. Relive that experience, re-traumatize themselves. Imagine what they went through. It means it delayed treatment. It delayed for them to return to work. We fixed that by having presumption clause in the Act, not only the first responders, nurses, care aides, and there are another 11 occupations we just recently added to that list so that they get the timely treatment when they are filing mental health claims to the WCB, because government matters. Government matters. Now, those changes that I talked about, many have monetary and benefits and other, benefits to the workers. But underlying changes, what's behind all those changes is to make sure our workplaces are safer, make sure those workers are treated with respect and dignity when they're injured. And now, part of that Bill 41 also is now legal duty for employer to re-employ those workers who were injured on the job. Our WCB system didn't have that before, Act didn't have that before. Although Human Rights Code in British Columbia require that, but then there was a confusion. Whose responsibility is this? What do you do when they are not accommodated back to work? So I think those are the changes that we made because we want to know, or we believe, I'm sure, and I'm sure you believe, that workers should have the opportunity to thrive, not just to survive. This is Canada, first world country. We need to make sure that the workers' work is valued and they're respected. At the same time, employer get the regime that they need, the laws that protect them and they are competitive. Business environment is very competitive. I think those are the type of things we need to do. So I know our government is fully committed to enhancing the field of disability management here in BC, including, I think Wolfgang and I and Ken were talking about it, $6 million grant to the national, this NIDMAR institution to administer return to work and disability management education program over the next several years. I'm told since the start of this program, we have made it, where is it now? 15 scholarship in the Bachelor of Disability Management program have been awarded. Over 5,000 continuing education modules have been delivered, and dozens of individuals have obtained Certified Disability Management Professional Certification and Certified Return to Work Coordinator Certification. Very, very important work. And I know that they will all be very valuable assets to your profession as well. Our government has provided $4 million to NIDMAR for the development of a new program that will provide occupational rehab and job coaching for people who are out of work due to injury or disability. Because as you know, more than anyone else, people feel better when they have a job and community connection. That's what you talked about here. That's what you're talking about going forward. And I want to thank you all and the organizations that you represent here in Canada and around the world. The work you do is vital to the health and well-being of workers you support. As well, the companies that benefit from your expertise. Last thing I want to say is, I know there are always more to do, and what we can do to help workers and employers in our province and elsewhere. And our government is committed to making sure that life is better for everyone that called BC home. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm not leaving, I'm leaving government, and I'm not seeking re-election again. This is after 20 years in politics almost, and 20 years before that as a trade unionist. I can tell you I'm leaving with the full sense of satisfaction. People like Ken, people like Wolfgang, Paul, and many others that I relied on during those 7 years as a minister to guide me, to advise me what can we do in different areas that impact workers and employers. And we made those changes that I mentioned, just a few of those highlights. But I'm leaving with a full sense of satisfaction that we achieved a lot for working people, for workers, for organizations that help those workers like NIDMAR. And I think today, British Columbia is much better for workers than when we took government. More people are moving to BC now. Our bureaucrats told us 10,000 net new people are moving to BC every 37 days. Imagine that. We need more doctors. We need more schools to make sure we accommodate all of them. Well, we're doing it. And why they're moving? Because they see hope and opportunity in British Columbia. They know when they come to BC, there are jobs, because our unemployment rate is the second lowest in the country. Our economy is first or second when it comes to GDP growth. They see hope and opportunity here. They know when they go to work, they are respected as workers. Their work is valued in British Columbia by government, and it filters down everywhere else. So I just want to say that I will be passing the torch to another worthy hands, and I want to say thank you. Thank you, Wolfgang. Thank you, all of your directors. Thank you, your organization, for doing the work that you're doing and helping so many over the years, especially people with disabilities. How do we manage in that sector and help those workers? And so it is my gratitude to all of you who come here and talk about how we can even make it better. Thank you, and have a great day.